Right, so this particular video is specific to IXL section P3 graphing parabolas because I didn't quite get to that. And I know some people are having a little bit of trouble with that. So we'll do this one. And here we are with graphing parabolas. Plot the vertex and then plot another point on the parabola. If you make a mistake, you can erase your parabola by selecting the second point and placing it on top of the first, or click it again and it disappears. So let's see. There's my pen. And the first thing we're going to want to do is just write the equation we're working with. All right, they started us out with an x equals y1 instead of a y equals x1, right? So x equals a y minus k squared plus h. So what do we have here? First of all, we have it's an x equals a, and a is negative. So it's definitely going to open up like this. It's going to be to the left because it's x equals y, and it's a negative a. So the h equals 0, and the k equals 0 because they don't exist there, right? So we can already put the first point at the origin. Now we got to figure out another point. So what do? Well, we know the vertex, so we put those numbers in, and then we just stick in a y and find an x. So the equation here is x equals negative 6 y squared. So let's put 1 in for y. So x equals negative 6 times 1 squared, which is 1. So when y equals 1, x equals negative 6. So the big thing is you've got to start with the y then, and then do the x, right? So we're going to go we're going to go up 1 to here, and then we're going to go over to negative 6. And we'll click there, and there's our parabola. And hopefully I won't get embarrassed by being wrong. Woohoo! Okay, so this parabola is going to be super similar, right? But we'll just do it again anyways. We'll do it blue. So h and k both equal 0, right? Because that's a y equals x. So what is it? Let's start with that. Y equals a x minus h squared plus k, right? So we have h equals 0 and k equals 0. And who's it? A. I got too many things in my head. And a equals negative 7, which means it's a y equals x, so it's up and down, and it's negative a, so it's going to go down, right? So now we just have our y equals, here's our actual equation. We know our vertex is 0, 0, and now we have our equation. And you can pick any x you want. When you're doing this, you can pick any variable you want. Just pick a convenient one. So for me, I think it's pretty convenient to make x equal 1, right? So y equals negative 7, 1 squared, right? So when x equals 1, y equals negative 7. So now we'll go plot this thing. So that's our h and k, right? It's the vertex, and then we got to go in and put another point in at when x equals 1. So we're going to go to 1. We're going to go to 1 right there. And then we got to go to negative 7. Whoa. Okay, so we're going to go to 1 comma negative 7. And that's our parabola. Right, so we'll do this one also because it's not exactly the same, right? 7x plus 1 is the same thing. It's a y equals x, so that's nice. I prefer those. Y equals a x minus h squared plus k. So what do we know? We know h equals 0 and k no longer equals 0. It equals 1, right? So we know our vertex is, what's the vertex? It is h comma k, right? So the vertex is 0 comma 1. So we'll click that. 0 comma 1 is right there. All right, and now we're going to go write our equation. We're going to stick a number in for x that is convenient. Whatever we want to do. Why 7x squared plus 1? I think x equals 1 is pretty convenient in this case. 7 times 1 squared plus 1. So y equals 8. So when x equals 1, y equals 8. So we'll go 1, when x equals 1, oops, I guess I can't do that. Okay, when x equals 1, y equals 8. So it's right there. Right there. And now we'll submit. Okay, there we go. All right. Basically a very similar problem. So we'll just write our, it's a y equals x again. That's great. Y equals a x minus h squared plus k. If you write that enough times, you memorize it. So our a is equals 2. That means it's going to be up like that, right? Because y minus x, y equals x squared. And h equals, what does h equal? Well, to get a plus 2 in the equation, h must equal negative 2. And k, there's no k, so that equals 0. So there's our center is going to be at negative 2, our vertex, excuse me, comma 0. And then we'll just have to put in a number that is easy for x. So our actual equation is y, 2, x plus 2 squared. So I think if I put 1, I'm going to get 3 squared plus 9, right? If I put a 1 in for x, I'm going to get 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3 squared is 9, and 9 times 2 is 18. So it works. I mean, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with putting a 1 in for x, but it'll be off the grid that we have, so it doesn't work well. But if we put a negative 1 in for x, that will work. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go y equals 2, negative 1 plus 2 squared. So y equals 2. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1 squared. So when x equals 2, when x equals negative 1, excuse me, y equals 2. So now we'll go in. And our vertex is at negative 2 comma 0, so it's right there. And then when x equals negative 1, y, when x equals negative 1, y equals 2. So negative 1 and 2, right there. Does that make sense? Yes, it does, because it's a y equals x, so it's going to be up and down. And a is positive, so that's good. Let's see here. Let's clear that. And then I think we'll just jump up a level, shall we? Let's clear that screen off. That doesn't really look like it jumped up a level to me. It's just h is negative 2. I'm going to jump up another level. All right, so now they jumped us up a level, and we have, let's just look at, okay, so it's a y equals x, right? It's a y equals a x minus h squared plus k. And we have, what numbers do we have? We have a 2 for a. Hey, I'm going to do that. We have a 2 for a. For x, for h, we have an 8. And for k, we have a negative 2. So the vertex is at 8, comma, negative 2, right? So we'll put that on here. 8, negative 2 is right down there. And then we have to just pick a, we're going to write the equation and then pick an x that looks good to us. Y equals 2. Oops, I have not found the eraser on this thing. I only have a clear screen button, so we'll just do that. Y equals 2 x minus 8 squared minus 2. Now, what would be a convenient x to pick? So if I was picking x, I would pick 9. Why? Because 9 minus 8 equals 1. So I'm going to go y, and I'm going to find out what y equals when x equals 9. So 9 minus 8 squared minus 2. So y equals 2. 9 minus 8 is, that's 1 squared minus 2. So 2 times 1, 1 squared is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Minus 2 equals 0. So when x equals 9, y equals 0. Does that make sense? Well, it's a y equals x, so it's up and down. And a is positive, so it's opening up. So when x equals 9, y equals 0. And that looks like that's where that goes. All right, and that's just about the way it goes. And I think I'm just going to end it here. It might get a little bit more complicated than that, and if it does, you can email me or whatever, but we need to get out of here. So there is some help for you on that one. And I know like I said, there might be a little more complicated things, but the basic thing is to find the vertex, and then you put in one variable to find the other variable, and that's how you find the second point. And the only thing is, when you get up into the 90s, some of those problems get a little tricky because the A is 2/3, and you got to figure out, it's just a function of this system that it only plots half integers, right? It only goes from, it'll go 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5. You can't plot 4 1/4. And so you have to figure out how to make it plot, get it so your x's and y's, so your x and y point are both on at least a half integer. And that is that. Take care. Bye-bye.